do it a
we
little
need to
back.
ask Grant how his weekend was. He didn't like Grant say how his
Oh,
weekend was.
yeah, Grant, how was your weekend?
Saturday was shit.
Why?
Great.
Why? Why?
Yeah.
It's because, well, thank God I didn't watch that embarrassment of a game. That was just fantastic.
Which game are you talking about?
That would be the savaging that happened in Columbus, Ohio. And actually, I just got an update from the National Raptor Center. Hawks are now endangered species after that game. And with that shellacking that the tree nuts of Central Ohio put on them. So yeah, that was just awful. Well, we knew it was going to be awful. Because like I said, Iowa sucks and they have no future. This team is going to be horrid for the next 5 years because who in their right mind would want to go there? I mean, I know Purdue lost again this weekend, but Charlie Jones, 10 receptions, I think 105 yards, and I don't know if he scored or not. So if there's any, I thought he did too, but I didn't want to look like too much of an idiot. So I didn't say he did, but again, this team, they have no future. I mean, who's going to want to come and play there? When a quarterback has 49 yards passing, and I saw that they had 3 turnovers inside the 30 or inside their 40 in the first half, an interception on the first play of the game. Who would want to go to that? Who would want to go to that school and play for this coaching staff? It's just an embarrassment. This team is headed down. I mean,
on top of that, like they kept saying, Kirk kept saying basically like the backup's worse. Honest to God, he wasn't wrong.
But
he was terrible.
And that's just to my point exactly. You're gonna
Oh, you guys there?
So I mean, and you knew eventually this defense was going to break, and it finally did. And then once this defense breaks, this team is they're done. There's no coming back from this. So just and I don't care to watch the rest of the year. I'll still support them, but I just don't want to waste my time watching this team play because, like I said, they suck.
So the bad part about like the majority of what you just said is for some reason. Well, I lost power at my house last night, so came on about midnight. And the only reason I knew that it came back on midnight because I turned my fan on because I figured it was going to come back on at some point. Turned my fan on, and all of a sudden, about midnight, I look over that it's on. So when I forgot to look which Wi-Fi network I was on when we started, turns out it was on an older Wi-Fi. So you cut out, so I didn't get to hear like basically anything of what you just said.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You planned that on purpose to make me go through down this again. I think you did.
I promise. I know that would seem like a me thing that I would do, but I truthfully did not do that because I usually always check, and lately it's been good, so I've never had to worry about it. And then you started glitching. I was like, oh shoot, I'm probably on the wrong Wi-Fi. Yep. Turns out I was on John Wilkes Bluetooth instead of the Rat's Nest.
Those are two fantastic things, by the way.
Thank you. The Rat's Nest is a story that my friends they understand and know what it is. I'll explain it to you guys off air. But if anybody in Dickinson, if I mention the Rat's Nest, you guys know what I'm talking about. And so, Grant, if you want to go, I think you need to repeat what you were saying those last couple of minutes, please.
Well, like I said, it's just, again, I said this before, but again, it's embarrassing. I mean, I think I said last week to my high school, Mankato West would be able to have a better offense than Iowa. Well, I'm going to double down on that and say that Dakota Meadows Middle School would have a better offense than Iowa. This is horseshit. It's putrid, and it looks like they haven't practiced all year. I mean, how do you have a quarterback come in and throw an interception on the first play of the game, and then apparently Padilla comes in and throws an interception on the first first
Yeah.
half.
He actually fumbled his first snap.
Which is he fumbled the first snap too.
Yeah, and then threw the interception later.
Oh, for the love of all things. Gee, that's awful.
I think his second snap was the interception, actually.
I mean, you know what? I think we need to do this, guys. We need to send an email to all the presidents of the Big Ten and kick Iowa football out of the Big Ten.
Wow.
Because they don't deserve to be in the Big Ten conference anymore. Watching this, we need to send them out to like Conference USA or the Mountain, not even the Mountain West. That'd be I'm being disrespectful to Boise State and the rest in that conference, right? We need to send them to the old school WAC.
Wow.
It's awful. I mean, your offense has mustered what, 9 points in the last 3 games or 2 games? How can you function on this? And you know, if people who's going to want to play for you. If I'm a wide receiver from, let's say, the St. Louis area, because that's an area Iowa has recruited somewhat a little bit, and you get something in the mail or a phone call and it says, you know, we're the offensive coaching staff, the coaching staff from the University of Iowa. I'm throwing that in the recycling. I'm going to rip it up and say, "Oh, sorry, Kirk, my dog ate the letter you had me. I don't know what to tell you." Who's going to want to go there and play in that system? I mean, it looks like something a 7-year-old boy would drop. That's how uncreative these plays are. And like I said, Charlie Jones is having plenty of success. What's going to stop any of these other receivers from saying, "Yeah, screw this place. They don't care about us. They suck." And then no high school talent's going to want to go there. And then another thing I've noticed with this team, I think, you know, in 2020, you know, Chris Doyle, he got fired from strength and conditioning coach, you know, for a various amount of reasons. You know what I've noticed about this team over these last 2 years, especially on the offensive line? They've gotten so soft.
Yeah.
They're not big bodies. They're not a physical team anymore. So I think that's finally catching up to them too. Because your strength and conditioning coach is one of the most important parts of your program. And over these last couple of years, I look at Iowa and it has declined every single season. So I think firing their strength, it's catching up to them. They're missing on these recruits in high school. They can't develop big bodies. You know, sure, you know, the Gophers are falling in hard times right now, but at least when I look at their offensive linemen, they look like offensive linemen. They're actually big people. These Iowa guys just look like kind of fat high school players right now.
Well, and that's part of it too. Like I think Petrus, Padilla, they've both been putrid and terrible. But that's probably the biggest thing because the last 2 years after Doyle was let go, they still had some respectable O lines where they were able to win a couple of games because they were able to create some holes. Linderbaum last year was playing for the Ravens. This year they had NFL talent on the offensive line. There's no talent on the offensive line this year, and that's hurting them too because for Petrus to have at least look like competent is they need to have some sort of a running game, and they don't even have that.
No, and you know, well, guys, they haven't had a running game since 2019. The running game and the yards per carry has gotten down every single year by year by year. And then, you know, this offense is predicated on the running game and play action. Well, last time I checked, when you can't run the ball, you don't have any play action. And they had a couple guys from the 2018 recruiting class and the 2019 recruiting class transfer, retire for medical reasons. So they've missed on players. So they have guys playing who should be playing in the WAC conference, but guess what? There's no bodies, there's no one else to play. So they got to play right now. I mean, they're falling on hard times. And yes, your offensive coordinator, your head coach, and quarterback are going to take most of the fall. But this offensive line has been just as bad. It's not going to get better anytime soon because sure, Northwestern's offense is awful. And their team is awful. I mean, Pat Fitzgerald today said, "I made a petition to the Big Ten to play this game at 6 a.m. because no one's going to want to watch it. That's how awful it's going to be." But one thing that Northwestern always does is they always play good defense against Iowa and they give them trouble.
Yeah, well, we'll preview that a little bit later on.
But still, it's just you just look at it. The way their front they play is going. Since Iowa doesn't have big physical bodies up front, it's going to be an issue, and it's going to be an issue for years and years to come with this program until something changes.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those tough conversations that's what happens when you get family involved within your staff and
And
work issues. And
Dylan, this isn't 2014 Iowa issues where
they're way past. They're way
Like,
past that. Those issues.
14, they actually, scored some points against teams. They just blew leads. And, they lost to Iowa State, Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Minnesota that year. Well, this year, I have a hunch they already lost to Iowa State. I have a hunch there's a good chance they lose to all three of those other teams, but their issues are so much past that. That 2014 team had talent. Their offense could score. The defense underplayed. They just needed to fix some things, the way they practice and their mindset. Well, this team doesn't have the players. And how can you, in today's world of the transfer portal, what's going to stop 20 of these guys from leaving?
Brian
if
Ferentz
you
leaving?
Don't, but that, just like what you said, you don't put family and business together, because of course the father's always going to have his son's back. You can't tell me Kirk's going to want to fire Brian, or, he's going to make a plea to the, athletic director and all this other stuff, but it's just awful. And they are potentially going down a bad rabbit hole, because they're staring 4-8, 3-9 an issue. And it's not like a 4-8 team, what they had before. This is a 4-8, 3-9 team who's actually almost seems like they're more like 1-11.